everyone, welcome to today's video. My name's Stephanie and today I am going to be reviewing Olive Ab's Respite collection for winter. Already is available, some of you probably already grabbed it, but I still wanted to share my swatches and comparisons for this collection. As always, I will share more of my thoughts at the end. For now, let's get into the swatches. The first polish we have is Snowy, and this is a pure white cream. So finally, after a couple of years, Olive Ab has its official white cream, and this one is really lovely. As you can see, just on the first coat, it has a great formula that is pretty even coverage for the most part. There are some streaks or light spots, so it's not quite a one coater, especially for me and my longer nails, but it does build up nicely. It's very easy to work with, not chalky or too thick or anything like that. So formula wise, it is really nice, very much on par with other Olive Ab creams. I ended up just doing 2 coats for this one, but looking back, I feel like I can see some unevenness, so you might need a third. Next up, we have Icicle, and this is described as a delicate gray cream in their studded holographic formula. So it is basically the same finish as the polish Raindrop, which if you know me and my channel, I love that shade. So I was really excited to see another color added to this particular finish, where it's basically a very buildable crelly base that has this very tiny holographic micro glitter. It is just so dainty and so pretty. Granted, it is pretty hard to capture the holo sparkle because there's just not a lot of contrast between the silver micro glitters and the gray base, but it does have this beautiful dainty twinkle. So I got this opaque for me on 2 coats because my second coat was a little bit thicker. So if you do thinner ones, you might need a third. Up next, we have Cozy, and this one is described as a rich coffee brown cream. So personally, I would call this a little bit more of a milk chocolate kind of color, just because it is a little bit lighter than what I would associate a coffee brown, even though my coffee is definitely very light. But this one has such a beautiful, warm undertone. It almost does look a little bit like a brick red kind of color on the first coat because it's a bit sheer, but once you do that second coat, it really does build up to a true brown shade. It's super lush, super creamy. It just feels so cozy. I feel like this is the perfect color to wear while you're drinking hot chocolate with a ton of marshmallows, cozy by the fireplace. Now, this wouldn't be an Olive Ab collection without a blue, so the blue for this collection is called Signature, and this is described as a deep Oxford blue cream. No surprise, this one is absolutely stunning. It has a great formula, just like the other Olive Ab creams, but you are going to want 2 coats to make it fully opaque, and it is just such a rich winter blue. It's more vibrant than a typical navy. It's almost like a dark peacock blue kind of color. Like, I immediately thought of Josler, but several shades darker, which don't worry, I will be showing the bottle comparisons later on. But yeah, this one is absolutely gorgeous. Such a beautiful, deep, moody blue for winter. If you want something darker and moodier, the next polish is Reflection, and it is a deep navy blue packed with royal blue shimmer. So as you all know, I am a big fan of Olive Ab polish, especially their cream polishes, because they are just such great formulas in a wide selection of shades. But I'm always going to be a little more excited when we get a shimmery type of polish. They are usually more on the subtle side, but I still really love them. And this one is no exception. It has a super deep, rich jelly base that builds up so easily in 2 coats for full opacity for me. Again, if you do tend to do thinner coats, you might need 3 thin coats for full opacity. But the shimmer in this is just so pretty. It just has this faint, dainty twinkle and looks like a sapphire or a night sky. And rounding out the collection, we have Gratitude, and this is a deep violet cream. So this is definitely one of those purples that is so dark it can almost look black, especially in low lighting, but it does have this really beautiful blue leaning violet color to it. So it's another super moody shade for winter. And as you saw, this one had an amazing formula as well, where it's almost full coverage on one coat. I guess maybe if your nails are shorter, you could get away with one coat of this one, but I still did two just to get full coverage. And as you can see, even under my desk lighting where I have these two lamps, it's still a really dark shade. It's like a very inky purple. So here is a Skittle of almost the full collection. I'm wearing everything except Snowy, the white polish, just so you can see the colors in the sun and the shade. I'm wearing Gratitude on my thumb, which you can definitely tell is purple when you're in direct sunlight. I feel like the other shades also look great in the sun. I'm also wearing two coats of each, by the way. But once we move into the shade, you can see just how dark everything gets, maybe with the exception of Icicle. I feel like you can tell the blues are still blue, but Gratitude on my thumb definitely looks black. It loses a lot of that purple color. So yeah, I definitely prefer how these look in more bright direct light, especially because you can see the twinkle in Icicle and reflection. And here is the full collection lineup. It's definitely very dark, very blue heavy, almost very expected with like the blues and whites. But I love the addition of the brown just because it adds this cozy, warm color. And even though I am craving lighter, sparkly colors this season, I really do love this lineup. Now getting into comparisons, instead of showing Snowy next to other white polishes from other brands, I figured I can show it next to some off-white polishes from Olive Ave. The first one we have is Calcite, which is basically a very light gray. And here it is next to Cloudy, which is a very light blue. I feel like you can definitely see that drop of blue in Cloudy, but Snowy almost doesn't look like a pure white. I'm gonna assume it has something to do with the bottle, because once you see two coats of each on the nail, Snowy is that stark, pure white color, while Calcite leans a little bit more gray, and then Cloudy has that hint of blue. Next for Icicle, I don't have anything quite like it to compare it to, but the closest color-wise that Olive Ave already has is Storm, which is just a gray cream. I think Storm is described as having a little bit of warmth to it, so you can see that Icicle is a little bit more neutral. Obviously, it has that crully formula, so it looks maybe a bit lighter as well, but if you have Storm and something like Mooncat's Moondust or just any other dainty Holo sparkle, adding that on top gives a somewhat similar vibe, but it's not as dainty and squishy as Icicle. So I really love Icicle, and I hope we get more colors like this. Then for Cozy, I was immediately reminded of Olive Ave's Goldstone, which came out in last winter's collection, which was a set of neutrals, and that one is definitely very similar, a little bit lighter and more red leaning. I think they just look more similar in the bottle, but on the nail you can definitely tell a very clear difference. Goldstone almost has this gingerbread kind of color to it, while Cozy is more of that milk chocolate. So for signature, I decided to just do bottle comparisons because the colors are wildly different. Here it is next to Pluto, which is the darkest navy blue cream from Olive Ave. It's very much an inky, almost blackened blue, so it's a lot darker than signature. I thought maybe it would be closer to something like Teddy, which came out in a summer collection a couple of years ago, but this is a little bit more of a cobalt blue, so they are somewhat similar in terms of like saturation, even though Teddy is definitely a lot more vibrant, but they're also just very different shades of blue altogether. So a closer shade, I think, is Josler, which is that peacock blue from the very first fall collection. But as you can see, this is definitely several shades lighter. It almost has like a dusty denim look to it, but they still have that similar peacock blue tone. And lastly, here it is next to Rue, which was from that same summer collection as Teddy. I know that signature is several shades darker, but I still feel like Rue is almost the same shade of blue. So moving on to reflection, I wanted to quickly show this next to Olivav's Coastal, which was the shimmery blue from the Summer Sunset collection. This one is more of like a bright cobalt blue, so definitely doesn't compare. And I also wanted to show this next to Supernova, which was from the very first winter collection. It's unfortunately retired, but Supernova was a dark purple metallic, so kind of similar in terms of how dark they are, but definitely not dupes. If anything, I would say the closest color comparison is Mooncat's Room Morgue, because it's another super dark, sparkly sapphire blue. I'd say that the shimmer in that one is a little bit more noticeable though, and it also shifts to purple. So not dupes. And lastly, for Gratitude, I had to show this next to Pisces, which was previously the darkest purple that Olivav had. They definitely are pretty similar in terms of how dark they are, but the main difference is the undertone, where Pisces is more of a red-leaning purple and Gratitude is blue-leaning. And I feel like it almost had an indigo quality to it, so I really wanted to see it next to Holo Taco's Indigo Away. But unfortunately, these are not dupes either. They definitely are very similar, again, in terms of how dark they are. Like both of these are gonna probably look the same in low lighting, but under more direct lighting or even like the sun especially, you would be able to see a difference, but it is very slight. I would say that Gratitude is more of a true purple with a blue undertone, whereas Indigo Away is a true indigo, so it's very much between a blue and a purple. So that wraps up my swatches and comparisons for Olivav's Respite collection. As always, I would love to know what your thoughts are on this release, because I am definitely pretty excited about it. I know it definitely is a little bit more of a simple expected color palette with like the whites and blues for winter, but I think the reason that I am super excited is because last year Olivav gave us a line of neutrals for the winter. Obviously every brand does need its line of neutrals, but I'm just excited that we finally have a proper seasonal winter collection. These are already available on Olivav's website. I will have that linked down below, and as a reminder, I am an affiliate, so you can either shop directly through my link or use my code YOGI10 to save 10% off your order. As always, big thank you if you do choose to support me through either of those things. It really means a lot. Make sure to leave me any and all thoughts that you have down below, any of your favorites, or if you grabbed the whole collection already, I would love to know so we can chat about it. But thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!